A French and Indonesian scientific expedition has explored a largely unknown region of the island of Papua New Guinea. The researchers ventured into one of the planet's richest areas of biodiversity, the Lengguru Mountains. For the scientists, the territory is like an open-air laboratory. It was formed 11 million years ago when the Australian and Pacific tectonic plates collided. The relief which soared up raised uncrossable barricades, bristling with peaks, beset by abrupt cliffs, dug out by chasms. The animals and plants that lived there were trapped. To survive, they had no choice but to adapt very quickly to the new conditions. How did the species that are prisoners of the mountains acclimatize? Have they developed new functions? What has changed in their feeding, their metabolism, their morphology? The expedition had some intriguing encounters. A forest kangaroo, a cricket that emits surprisingly powerful ultrasounds, and a large pigeon from the family of the legendary dodo, extinct for centuries. The samples taken from the specimens discovered at Lengguru have been transmitted to cutting-edge research laboratories. They will help science to understand the evolution of the living world and foresee the future of our planet in a period of intense and chaotic change. There is no land access to the Lengguru Mountains. To reach them, you have to pass by the sea. French biologist Lengguru has roamed Papua New Guinea for more than 15 years. During a previous expedition, he saw the extraordinary biodiversity of the Lengguru Mountains.
Mana bos? Masih berapa lama sampai Lubu?
3 jam kita sudah tiba di Pulau.
Berarti masuk sebelum malam.
Ya.
Lengguru has convinced Gono Semiadi, biologist at the Indonesian Science Institute, to take part in the adventure. Together, they share the direction of a mixed team, including Indonesian and European researchers.
Okay.
The Lengguru Mountains are a little like a giant natural maze. It's an enormous limestone mass, twice as large as Corsica for its land part. It starts at the sea bottom in the abyssal trench of Seram, at least 2,000 meters in depth, and it rises above the sea to 1,500 meters. So the interest of this expedition is to understand how all this living architecture has been put in place over millions of years and to predict its future evolution, faced with the great challenges of global warming and human activity.
Lobo is the only village at the foot of the Lengguru Mountains. That's where the team of scientists disembarks. The expedition base camp sets up close to some dwellings. The arrival of strangers is an event for the villagers. For the men, it's an opportunity to make money. The expedition can't get by without auxiliaries, the only ones capable of carrying equipment in difficult areas.
Your name?
Justuf.
Mamal 2 orang. Mamal itu maksudnya mamalia. Ada yang tentang kelelawar. Orang gajah ini gabung. Berarti moluska.
Everyone checks the condition of the equipment they'll carry one last time. The heaviest loads are split up so they can be carried on a man's back in difficult conditions. It's the last night the scientists will spend together before splitting up to go to their research zones. During 8 weeks, the mammal, bird, insect, and plant specialists will use all their expertise to discover the secrets of the mountains. According to the villagers, a species of kangaroo lives in the dense and bushy undergrowth of Lengguru. This is surprising information, as kangaroos are usually a plains animal. Gono Semiadi sets off after the tracks of the mysterious marsupial.
I really looking now for kangaroo footprints. We are hoping we can get some indication of the presence of the kangaroo coming to the water. Oh, looks like this is the last night footprint. You can tell from the moist of the footprint.
In this kind of undergrowth, it's difficult to follow such a tenuous track for a long distance. But close to the river, Gono Semiadi has found a place where there are more tracks than elsewhere. Up till now, the marsupial has never been photographed or filmed in its natural environment. Without leaving a trap, the only way to proceed is to install cameras that trigger automatically and can also film at night.
But the angle, this is about the right angle. It's up to about 2 meter coverage.
Now, 2 or 3 days must pass, counting on luck. The cameras were in the right places.
Yang ini kayaknya nggak ada garis punggung.
Tidak. Lebih ke daerah utara New Guinea.
Yang ini kayaknya ini pendulum testis.
Iya, itu yang gantung itu kayaknya.
The recorded film offers a surprise. This very strange animal doesn't jump as the plains kangaroos do habitually. It moves around by leaning constantly on its tail as if it were a fifth leg. The Lengguru kangaroo seems to be different from the most common species of marsupial. This discovery intrigues the scientists. Zoologist Geraldine Veron is a mammal specialist at the menagerie of the Natural History Museum of Paris.
It's quite an intriguing, interesting animal. I don't quite know what it is. It seems to me to be a land animal. You can see it moving around on the ground. It doesn't jump like a wallaby either. We'll have to have a look at what its means of locomotion is. Is it an animal which stays on the ground, or does it climb trees?
A comparison with the species present in the menagerie may give some of the answer.
Well, these are Bennett wallabies. So wallabies are marsupials, animals where the young develop in a pouch. They live mainly in Australia, in Australasia, in fact. And here we can see that they're animals which are called macropods, that is, with large feet and with a leg which is used for jumping. Well, it acts a little like a spring. It's in a Z shape. And they also have little upper paws, the hands, which aren't used for movement, they're mainly for catching food. They live in open spaces like prairies. And here are Dendrologus Goodfellow, which are tree-dwelling kangaroos, also marsupials, macropods like the wallabies, but which live in trees. So they're adapted for this. They have a very long tail, which acts as a balancing pole. The front paws are very developed, and in particular they have very big claws, which let them grip tree trunks. And the back paws are smaller than in a kangaroo or a wallaby because they don't jump as much. It's an animal which lives at the top of trees.
Neither a plains wallaby or a tree kangaroo, the Lengguru marsupial poses a few questions. Geraldine now turns to the museum's historical collections and its stuffed specimens.
Right, we're looking for small kangaroos. We'll see if we can find it. Ah, it might be that. Yes, you see? These little forest wallabies. Yes, if you're looking at New Guinea, that matches well. I'll get it out. It's like the one you saw. What would be really interesting would be to see if Anthony can tell us something about the morphology of the paws in relation to tree dwellers, to see if it's purely a land animal.
Dorcopsis hagini was discovered in 1897 on the island of Papua New Guinea. Up until now, no one has studied its skeletal structure.
So here we have the X-ray image. That's the paw here, with the tibia descending. There are the phalanges here, and what really interests us to better understand the adaptations to a tree or land environment is the posterior part here. This is called the calcaneum, or heel bone. The heel bone is interesting because in there is inserted a tendon, the Achilles tendon, connected to the largest muscle, the gastrocnemius. This muscle is extremely important because it serves the extension of the paw, and that gives it most of its force for movement. For this animal here, the length is quite different from what I've seen on typical plains kangaroos from Australia. Large macropods which travel great distances, so that suggests there's something very special about these animals.
Yes, that's interesting.
I have some images of tree kangaroos. Let's look at them.
Oh, yes, yes.
So this is the same X-ray but of a tree kangaroo. Here it's the other way around, so the paws are this way and the claws, which are very well developed, are here. And you can see that the heel bone is a lot shorter, and so this animal can't jump as far or run as fast as the animal we've just seen.
The kangaroo skeleton from Lengguru has bone characteristics which are intermediary between a tree kangaroo and a plains kangaroo. Under the pressure of the environment in which it was isolated, the Papua New Guinea marsupial evolved, and during its exile, it became a new species which could be called forest-dwelling. Its evolution shows the formidable resilience of living beings which managed to adapt to profound changes in their environment. However, the Lengguru kangaroo is under threat.
Terus sekarang kalau sudah gini mau dimakan? Iya. Saya suka.
As they do everywhere in forested zones, the local population eat meat from the bush, and the little marsupial is easy to catch. The scientists are confronted with the old dilemma they meet everywhere where strong protection measures haven't been taken to safeguard fauna in danger.
So setiap datang pasti dapat?
Iya, tergantung
juga.
Tergantung rezeki.
Tergantung rezeki. Sekarang rezeki lagi bagus.
Iya.
Tapi Bapak tidak pasang untuk yang pakai tali jerat itu, untuk rusa gitu tidak? Pasang juga?
Ada pasang juga tetap di sana.
Di sana?
Iya.
Terus berapa hari sekali Bapak jerat itu Bapak periksa?
2 hari.
2 hari. Kali pasang berapa jerat?
Biasa 5.
Hanya 5?
Sampai 10.
Hanya 10? Dalam 2 hari pasti dapat?
Bisa.
Oke, silakan Pak.
Preserving the kangaroos requires the active participation of the inhabitants. Once they are made aware and trained, they become the best caretakers for the site.
Ya, udah Pak.
The flora of Papua New Guinea includes around 1,300 tree species and 15,000 species of plants, most of which exist nowhere else. Because of this, it is one of the most diversified and rich areas on Earth. Botanists Vincent Droissat and Jean-Christophe Pantou from the Institute of Development Research methodically gather plants which they think show unexpected characteristics.
At the moment, things are very good. We've collected more than 50 flowering plant species and nearly, I'd say, 200 or 300 non-flowering species. We've collected a lot of living specimens that we'll then try to cultivate in Jakarta and then another part here in Papua New Guinea.
At the edge of the sea, the forests of Lengguru are regularly flooded by the tides. Swollen with salt, the soil is poor in nutrients. To subsist, plants have developed original strategies. A large number of plants grow on top of other species. These species are called epiphytes, or air plants. Plants that feed on insects are very diverse, and there are many in this specific environment.
Toutes ces stratégies de vie qui n'utilisent pas le sol.
All the growing strategies that don't use soil are flourishing in this environment. Here there's a plant which captures small prey in these urns, where the insects come and drown. For example, in this urn, there are 4 or 5 big dead ants, and their decomposition will help feed the plant.
Contribuer à l'alimentation de la plante.
Other plants don't eat the insects, but prefer to use them.
Can we pull that off to perhaps see? Because the entrances for the ants seem to be under the rhizome. There's one entrance. 2, you can see the structure in this stalk, which has been modified, which is full of cavities, in fact, where the ants can live. I'll use my secateur, it's simpler. This is the first time that we've seen a fern which associates with ants in this way.
This fern is a myrmecophile. It lives in symbiosis with an ant colony. The insects make their nest in these hollow protuberances. In exchange for the shelter, they bring the fern the mineral and vegetable nutrients that it needs. Samples of the plant discovered at Lengguru have been sent to Germinal Rouen, fern specialist at the Natural History Museum of Paris, to be identified.
So, let's see this specimen. I particularly like this specimen because it doesn't really correspond to the idea we have of a fern with a very split leaf. Here there are simple entire leaves. This particular stem, sprawling, we call the rhizome. And then what we can see swelling on the rhizome are these little black structures with a translucent membrane around them, which are what we call scales. So the scales, they're found not just on fish, but also on ferns and all parts of the fern plant. The scales are primordial for the determination of what these plants are. So we have to compare the size, the shape, the number, and the localization of these special scale structures. All of these characteristics allow me to determine that the plant is a Lechanopteris sinuosa. Lechanopteris are wonderful plants because it's quite rare amongst ferns to find ones that have modified structures to welcome, if you can say that, insects.
This astonishing symbiotic system is the result of coevolution, during which the plant and the ant have constantly adapted to each other. The symbiosis is such that without the ants, the plant would die, and without the plant, the insects would have no shelter and would not survive long. Some of the most complex and creative scenarios of the theory of evolution that exist are to be found at Lengguru. The researchers couldn't dream of a more fertile land. Here, the night swarms with life. All the nocturnal species hunt.
We're going to need a bag.
For the herpetologists, the expedition keeps its promise. Pythons are quite common in the region, especially in Australia and Indonesia. But this is the first time that a specimen has been found at Lengguru.
It's absolutely magnificent.
This is an amethyst python. Its name comes from the milky rainbow sheen of its scales.
It's not even very nasty.
Just watch out, it'll roll around you.
I've got my machete.
Trying to bite you.
That could work.
Is it the snake that smells like that?
Oh, yes. When they're not happy, they do that. I hope it doesn't burst the bag.
Alongside the sea crocodile, the python, which can grow up to 5 meters long, is one of the most powerful and formidable predators of Lengguru. In the undergrowth, the researchers are listening for unusual sounds. That sound there, for example, we haven't heard it before. It's surely a frog which belongs to this type of habitat. We absolutely have to find it. We're not really used to working in this type of forest, searching in this kind of place.
There it is.
Oh yes, that's it. So it's a species we haven't yet seen. It's probably not been described yet. This is an oreophrene, and it croaks once or twice every 2 or 3 minutes, so it's very difficult to find.
What's impressive is the size of the beast in relation to the noise it can make.
Let me see the frog you've caught there. Great. It's a mixofixa. Oh, wow. I don't know what this thing is, Philippe.
Me neither.
Oh, it's even two-toned, did you see? There's one part. What's that thing? Those tubers on the eyelid. This is a super discovery. That's great.
Not bad, eh? It's got attitude. Personally, I love it. It'll jump on me next.
Tony Robillard is an entomologist at the Natural History Museum of Paris. Insects, and especially crickets, fascinate him strongly.
So here we have a female Rhaphidophora. In fact, they have asymmetric antennae. There's one antenna which is a lot longer than the other one, and they often move them in a kind of circle around themselves, doubtless to find out what's around them, to see if there's a predator or an obstacle. There are very few things like these creatures in any case, with this behavior. Yes, there it is. I'm putting the microphone not too close and not too far away either. I don't know this at all, in fact. It might be a different species. I can't say for the moment, but from the sound, there's something different. So it's really interesting.
To try and identify this curious species of cricket, Tony Robillard dissects 2 individuals which he conserves in ethanol.
These specimens have a very particular kind of face. This kind of white mask which covers all the cricket's face, that is without a doubt something new. This can be confirmed by looking at the male genitalia. They're very characteristic of cricket species. We make an incision here along the abdomen. And we can see the genitalia. This part here is very unusual. I've never seen shapes like that.
Voilà les genitalia.
Ending in a kind of spatula like that. It's really very strange. It's something which is completely unique in crickets. So there I can say that we probably have a new genus.
Discovering a new genus is an exceptional event in the life of a researcher. The genus is an entire line of a species, up until now unknown, and presenting the same characteristics. This discovery is an important advance in our knowledge of the living world. The Natural History Museum of Paris has one of the best collections of insects in the world. Tony Robillard pursues his investigations here, in particular on the song of the crickets of Lengguru.
So the song is made up of units, which are in fact syllables, and that corresponds to this sound here. That's what is used to construct the architecture of the song. So this syllable here, we can disassemble it and look in detail at the sound wave. And you can see that it has a frequency of 10.5 kilohertz, which is twice as high as that made by an ordinary cricket. This is a very important characteristic, exceptional for this species found at Lengguru.
The jungle resounds constantly to the noises of birds, frogs, and insects. To be instantly recognizable by its partners, the cricket of Lengguru has developed an original technique. Just like bats and dolphins, they emit ultrasounds which pass through the surrounding cacophony.
So, to understand how the male produces this high-frequency sound, I used a camera which records at 3,000 images per second. And that allows me then to measure in slow motion the speed of wing displacement during production of the song. Each time that the wings close, a syllable is produced. And we can already say that it's a movement which is, despite the slow motion, very rapid, which allows the cricket to produce very high frequencies. It's something you can't see at all with the naked eye, and it's a lot more rapid than for an ordinary cricket. This is a new system of communication using high-frequency signals, so it's really original, something completely new. Now we're going to have to look at the other end of the system, with the females, to see where the signal is received.
How do the female crickets of Lengguru manage to capture the ultrasounds emitted by the males? Tony Robillard goes to the University of Leipzig to meet the neurologist Stefan Schornich, who has developed a unique experiment in fundamental research.
How are you?
Ah, very good.
Good flight?
Yeah, it's nice to see you again.
And actually, I just have one recording running here.
Yeah.
And so I inserted some electrodes in the cricket, the connection up to the brain, and I can switch a loudspeaker on, so you can actually hear the activity in the central nervous system. Let's start with some sound we can hear. So with not a very high frequency in our hearing range. So you can hear the sound pulse, but you also can hear the activity of the neurons. Now let's see for the really high frequency, which we cannot hear. So this is 20 kilohertz now, and I present the sound pulses in the same pattern. And the only thing we hear is the response of the neurons. So the cricket can hear the 20 kilohertz. So they have a really high frequency hearing.
The brain of the female cricket reacts to the ultrasounds. This would mean it can perceive vibrations that other animals can't hear.
As a
neuroethologist, I try to understand how animal nervous systems can affect behavior. To put it in another way, I observe what, in the case of an evolution in behavior, happens in the brain. And I'm specialized in the acoustic communication of crickets.
Die Zusammenarbeit mit Toni ist besonders
Working with Tony is fascinating because we have the same interest for crickets, but two different areas of expertise.
unterschiedlichen Richtungen. Und wenn wir dann unsere Ergebnisse
When we bring our knowledge together,
genetische
that is the genealogical study of Tony's,
untersucht und
and my study of the nervous system,
Nervensystem, die zu neuen Verhaltens
that allows us to progress towards a new understanding of the evolution of the species.
neues Bild über Evolution zu bekommen.
To confirm his hypothesis, Stefan Schoeneich looks at the minuscule brain of the insect, and more precisely, the nerve cells specific to its auditory system.
So I just put the preparation in the microscope.
Okay.
So the microscope is now scanning through the brain level by level. And what we know from the normal field crickets is that this round area here, this like a ring, this is the area where the auditory information is processed. And what you see here, this branch which goes out here and goes all the way up here, this is very typical for the high-frequency neurons.
Okay, so that's confirming that they lost low-frequency perception, finally.
Yeah.
And that's really cool, because it's indicating us how evolution can generate a new system of communication by grabbing some neurons and giving them a new function.
Yeah.
So that's the only time we could prove these kind of things with such details.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Cerebral imaging shows that the females can only perceive ultrasounds. They can only hear male crickets of their species emitting on high frequencies. In a way, the Lengguru crickets communicate on another radio frequency than other common crickets. If they hadn't evolved in this way, the continual hubbub of the jungle would have prevented females and males from finding each other to reproduce. In the lost world of Lengguru, changing to survive is a desperate necessity for many species.
France!
The team of ornithologists number the birds present in the mountains with the help of the villagers.
Ada ini. Yang ini. Ah, ini ada. Ada di sini. Di atasnya ini ada. Ada.
Okay.
Namanya hutan ini semua gambar ini ada.
How about this?
Nah, ini.
Mambruk.
Ada.
One of the stars they hope to observe is the western crowned pigeon, or gura. It's an endemic species in the region, but its origins are still a mystery to science.
Everything in here, it's in around here, but you need time to catch them.
Yeah, I know.
Christophe Thébault from the CNRS, Borja Mila of the Museum of Madrid, and Hidayat Ashari from the Indonesian Science Institute estimate that in a square kilometre of forest there are up to 150 species of bird. Such diversity is unique in the world.
The nice thing about this place is that we can actually get canopy species because we're very high. We're at the level of the canopy. So it's a very steep ridge on both sides. So birds that are flying through the canopy at this height, they're not going to go up here. They'll just stay at this level and continue. So we have a good chance of catching things that otherwise in the understory we would not catch. Okay, very nice, beautiful. It's wine color and the golden underwings, beautiful. Tout à fait magnifique. Oh, both. Not very happy.
Individuals of every colour and every size pass through the expert hands of the ornithologists. Before releasing the birds, the team examines the state of their plumage. they measure the wings, the beaks, and take a few drops of blood for genetic studies. For 2 days, Christophe Thébault and Bojamila have been tracking the crown gora.
Boja, I've just heard a gora. This is a very good habitat for them.
Yes, yes.
We'll see if we can find a feather or something.
Okay.
Look, a gora feather. It's a wing feather.
Like it doesn't have white tips, right? Very impressive. Very nice. That's an amazing crown.
This bird with an extravagant crest is one of the rare survivors of the family of large pigeons, which has continued to decline to the point where it is now feared that it may disappear very quickly. Its weight can reach 2.5 kilos, but its wings allow it to fly and perch in trees. It could be a relative of the now extinct dodo, a bird regretted by all scientists.
Would be nice to catch. Nice to catch. Perhaps with a feather.
To know if the crown gora of Lengguru is really a relative of the legendary dodo, reconstructing its genealogical tree has to be attempted. The first step consists of comparing the DNA of the species conserved at Lengguru with those of other specimens of gora kept in collections around the world. The ornithologists go to the sequencing platform of INRA at the Genopole of Toulouse to consult a geneticist, Olivier Boucher.
Hello, Oliver. How are you?
Hello, I'm well. And you? Where are you back from now?
Oh, from a long journey. Papua New Guinea. We'd like to study a group of pigeons, very large pigeons, the largest in the world, which are called crown pigeons. And we'd like to understand where they're from, how they arrived, and when the different species were formed. The challenge for us is that the material we'll have to use is essentially museum specimens, which are 10 years, 50 years, even 150 years old.
Okay, so since they're museum specimens, we'll be working on degraded DNA.
What are the technical difficulties?
Well, because the DNA is degraded, that means the DNA is in little fragments. Not only in little fragments, but as well in small quantities. So what I propose is that we make some tests on some samples, see what that gives us, and if that's satisfying for you, we'll be able to sequence and study all your samples to answer your biological question.
Well, a very exciting aspect of this project is that it's an extremely international effort. We're using a lot of samples from for example, the Natural History Museum in Great Britain, in Australia, Indonesia. This international component is very important to bring together all the resources and expertise to truly understand the diversification of gora from many different perspectives.
In Jakarta, Hidayat Ashari from the Indonesian Science Institute is in charge of taking the necessary samples to send them to the Toulouse Genopole. The gora feather found in the forest will give data about the individuals living now at Lengguru. The gora is now a species that is protected by Indonesian laws and international conventions. Collections have very few specimens, all taken before the 1970s.
with the old specimen like this, that mostly they has arsenic in it, in the body and everywhere. We cannot use the part from the body. Mostly we use toothpaste. There is not a lot of arsenic around this area. So we can cut it, just piece off, maybe around 2 millimeter.
While the sequencing of the DNA taken from the collection specimens is happening, Christophe Thébault and Borja Mila attack the next challenge. To establish the parentage of the gura, its genetic heritage has also to be compared to that of other large pigeons, notably the dodo. Endemic to Mauritius, the dodo was a bird that was almost a meter high with an average weight of 10 kilos. Its withered wings prevented it from flying and made it an easy prey. It became extinct at the end of the 17th century after Europeans landed in its environment. Lewis Carroll, in the 19th century, made the dodo immensely famous by making it into a sympathetic character in his book Alice in Wonderland. Since, the dodo has become an icon of the extinction of species which man is responsible for. At the Natural History Museum of London, the paleontologist Julian Hume has just discovered new bones of the legendary bird.
Hi, Julian.
Christophe. It's great to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. It's been a long time.
It has been a long time. Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So what are you up to?
Well, painting dodos as usual. And talking of dodos and giant pigeon, tell me about your crown pigeon gura project.
The project is going very well. Now what we need to add in the story are the big extinct pigeons.
I have actually found some cave material which might help the cause.
Yeah.
As you can see, this is the famous Marassange material, always is chocolate brown, but unfortunately it's totally useless for extracting DNA. Just by luck, I found a new cave on Mauritius. There's a very obvious difference. This one's brown and this one's white. This is from a limestone cave. But the thing is, this is producing DNA because it's been in a cave, protected environment, and it's not suffering like this one would do in the elements of Mauritius. So hopefully this is the key.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, these are small pieces of bone. Do you actually want to see the complete skeleton?
Be great.
Great. Well, let's go over here.
So, Julian, I mean, the crowned pigeons are the largest pigeons in the world right now. So why have all the other big pigeons got extinct, you think?
Well, there's one key thing, and that is mammals. The dodo evolved on an island where there was no terrestrial mammals, whereas the crowned pigeon had a whole range of predatory mammals to have to contend with. Now, if you look at the size of the wings, they're about the size of a chicken on this huge bird. That is because flight is so expensive to maintain. So if you don't need flight, why have it? Why maintain it? And the dodo didn't need to fly. Everything it needed was on the ground.
So when the mammals were introduced onto Mauritius, so the dodo just couldn't cope with that.
There's a lot of tales about humans actually hunting dodos to extinction, but that wasn't the case. In fact, they introduced mammals, pigs, deer, goats, and so on, which competed with dodos for food, but the worst culprit was probably the black rat, which was accidentally introduced. They would have bred up into huge numbers, been a serious predator of dodo eggs and chicks, and that was probably the key reason why dodos became extinct and the crowned pigeons are still with us.
In terms of history, large pigeons are more vulnerable than other birds. It is urgent for the scientists to see if the gura does belong to that family, to construct a policy of preservation. Jade Bruxot, doctoral student in Christophe Thébault's team, takes samples of various species to the Paleogenetic Center of Copenhagen, one of the rare laboratories in the world which works on ancient DNA like that of mammoths or early man.
Hi, good to see you. Ooh, thank you. I got a suit for you. Let's see if I hope it's the right size. So, how old are the samples?
Probably end of 16th century.
How many samples do you have?
There are 5 inside.
5. It's
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah.
Where did you get them from?
They come from the British Museum. Julian Hume sent us them.
I'm really looking forward to see these. Okay, ready?
Ready.
Perfect. Let's see what we can do with this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Why did we come to Copenhagen? Because they have a lab specialized in ancient DNA here, which is very, very good. It's one of the most up-to-date laboratories in the world. Here they work on samples dating from the 1700s or even older, and they need sterile conditions which are as close as possible to perfect.
Et ici, on a les conditions adéquates pour faire ce travail-là.
Wow. So maybe we should just start with one sample first,
Yeah.
one at a time.
Okay.
But this is so much. I think we should break it into smaller pieces and extract it individually.
Okay.
Okay. It look very well preserved.
Hey guys.
Hi.
How's it going?
Hey Tom.
Well, I think.
Yeah? How far are you?
These are the libraries.
That's the libraries already.
Yep. So it's
exciting.
ready for sequencing, I think.
It look pretty promising.
Well, I guess fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
forward.
exactly.
Let's go sequence.
Oh yeah.
So the really big challenge is because the animal has died and decomposed, not only is the tissue, the muscle gone, but the bone is broken down, and within the bone, the DNA is broken down. So a very simple analogy is, for example, comparing a whole book that I give you with a book that's been through a paper shredder and is in lots and lots of small pieces. We have to work with these tiny fragments. We have to sort out what is the real DNA and what is the bacterial DNA, and then we have to piece them together to try and understand the information that's present.
At this stage, the most developed technological tools and the best experts have been mobilized to create the genealogical tree of the Gora.
Hi.
Hi, Jade. All okay?
Yeah, fine.
Right, you've come to give us our results.
That's right. In the end, we managed to sequence 39 samples.
No sequencing problem? From the DNA you sent us, we had no problems, and we have very, very good sequencing results.
Up till now, we thought there may be 3, maybe 4 species based on color criteria, and now we can confirm there are 4.
4?
So that's quite interesting.
It's interesting and unexpected, in fact. Great. And now the relation to other large species of pigeons?
Well, when we compare all the large pigeons, they're all found together. Our crown pigeons are close to a pigeon with a strange beak, 2 others that look more like pheasants than pigeons, and also the dodo and the solitaire.
Okay, so that confirms a hypothesis that was already proposed and shows quite clearly that finally in this large group nowadays, the largest pigeon still living is the Gora.
That's it exactly.
This kind of result is really interesting and should, I hope, in any case, encourage the conservation of these birds and also the forests of New Guinea.
Absolutely.
That's perfect. Bravo.
This magnificent plumed bird is a survivor. While the mountains of Lengguru are a refuge for the Gora, they're not as safe as all that. This large pigeon is a favorite prey for poachers. Draconian measures will have to be taken or it will disappear in its turn. The mountains of Lengguru have kept their promise. It really is the Eden of biodiversity that the researchers felt it to be. However, it must not be thought that this natural citadel is invulnerable. Modern tourism has the means to get everywhere, and if mining companies discover wealth in the ground, the site of Lengguru could quickly be sacked. To prevent what would be a tragedy, it needs to be turned into a sanctuary as fast as possible. In these tormented landscapes called karsts, there are strange natural phenomena. Intriguing places can be found there. A lake where the water mysteriously disappears into the ground and then fills up again. A river as large as the Seine in France, with a source that remains unfound in the depths of the earth. And a cave, isolated for millions of years, where are hiding invertebrates unknown to science with extreme adaptations. Research, made first in the field and then in laboratories, will help science to understand the evolution of living creatures in an environment subject to constant geological upheaval. Getting to the Lengguru Mountains isn't easy. It can only be done by waterway, thanks to a dhow. This makeshift boat has to go up rivers that are swelled by powerful tides. For the 50 Indonesian and European researchers taking part in the expedition, the voyage is an adventure in itself.
3.2.
Repeat.
3.2.
Jean-Pierre Briquet and Bernard Puyot, both hydrologists at the Research Institute for Development, guide the Indonesian boat thanks to a sound. The aim is to help the dhow to brave the currents, sometimes in epic conditions.
Left, left!
Left!
Left there!
All the way! Tell him, damn it!
Carry on all the way!
All the way! All the way!
Yes, he has to go left. Carry on, carry on. It's going to turn there. He left the hardest bit. He needs to go completely to the left.
We kept on telling him.
Yes, but he was too much in the middle. Too much in the middle.
The boat finally moors at one of the rare villages at the foot of the mountains. This is where the scientists set up their base camp. Soon the teams will leave for their research areas and return to the village between missions to securely store the field data. That's how you find great things. We were looking for the toilets and it went between us. Just arrived, Evie Arida, herpetologist at the Indonesian Science Institute, has found a rare specimen.
This one is one of the largest skinks. It's just amazing how they are different, and genetically speaking, there's plenty of room to study.
Finding an animal as astonishing as this when the expedition has only just landed is a pretty good sign. The following weeks seem promising. Before going out into the field, the teams check the equipment they'll need to make their research. Laurent Puyot, in charge of the expedition, takes an essential precaution. He demonstrates the drone. Using a machine that none of the villagers have ever seen has to have the agreement of the community.
Kamera yang akan ambil gambar. Oke, kita kasih naik. Tuh. Salam, weh. Ayo, ayo. Nanti lihat gambarnya. Ini kalau begini kasih naik saja. Tuh, pegang. Sudah. Turun.
In this isolated area, The expedition's success depends largely on how much trust there is between the scientists and the villagers. Every foreigner has to respect customs and ask for the agreement of the men of the village to go into the Lengguru Mountains.
Saya senang sekali kembali karena masih ingat kan waktu pertama kita datang di sini tahun 2010, pas saya ambil timpungan terakhir itu, saya lihat gunung di Lobo, saya nangis langsung. Jadi sepertinya ada, ya kan, tahu sendiri ada koneksi dengan lingkungan di sini. Benar gini itu. Ini.
Kami masyarakat Kampung Lobo harus menerima ini dengan senang hati dan merasa gembira. Beberapa orang mungkin bantu untuk menunjuk jalan ke sana, atau mungkin nanti di lautnya ada minta.
Terima kasih. Terima kasih banyak.
Ya.
The village agrees to open the way to the Lengguru Mountains. For these people, it is the center of the world and the cradle of all life. For the scientists, it is an Eden of biodiversity, unequaled on our planet, an exceptional place for the advance of knowledge. Starting the next day, the teams will spread out with their guides on their adventure. Near the village, in the coastal forest, Evia Rida, reptile and lizard specialist at the Indonesian Science Institute, is searching her area. Nothing is known about the lizards and monitor lizards which live here. Sparked by her first find at base camp, Evie hopes to capture other interesting specimens.
There are many whys in my head. Why are they endemic to this island? Why are they different in morphology? How do they diversify, and how do they come here? Dapat! Oi, oi, oi. Ha, ha, ha. Okay. What a beautiful specimen. And this lizard is kind of special in that, well, normally lizards will have 5 fingers on the front and the forelimbs, and 5 fingers on the hind limbs. This one, it has only 4 fingers on the front limbs, 5 fingers on the hind limbs. It's a specialty of a group of skinks. There's a lot of diversity. The evolutionary history is also complex.
An example of each group of lizards and skinks found in the field is sent to Jakarta, to the Indonesian Science Institute. Amir Hamidi is in charge of comparing the astonishing adaptation processes used by the animals under the pressure of their environment.
This is all specimen of skink that we collected from Lengguru, from the arboreal species, terrestrial species, and fossorial species. One species, the arboreal species, they have 5 fingers here. This is the perfect way to climb the trees. The second one is the species living on the ground. They have reduction number of the finger, 4 finger. And then the third one is the species which is the leg is getting smaller, and then the number of fingers also smaller, is 4 finger here. In the next future, we lost their legs to perfectly adapted living under the ground.
The scientists suspect that to escape their predators, the skinks take refuge more and more underground, like snakes. Their paws are less and less useful in this environment. This is what might explain the slow mutation of their morphology and the progressive loss of their limbs. The first observations are encouraging. They show that the Lengguru Mountains have developed some of the most spectacular stories in the theory of evolution. Another team leaves on its mission. It is going to explore the high isolated lakes. Bernard Puyo and Jean-Pierre Briquet, the two hydrologists, are also the most senior members of the expedition. For 20 years, they have explored the most isolated parts of the planet together. They're accompanied by Laurent Puyo, biologist and genetician, who has led several exploratory missions in this region of Papua New Guinea. According to aerial images, the high lakes of Lengguru are endorheic. That means they are not linked to the sea. They have developed over hundreds of millions of years in a closed environment. But what interests the researchers are the big variations in the level of the lakes. The water can rise or fall by scores of meters, flooding or drying out surrounding forests. The conditions in which the explorers have to advance are difficult. The temperature is around 35 degrees, and it's extremely humid. We'll reach the first lake today. They caught two little wild pigs by running them down. They're incredible, those guys. Those guys impress me. Hey, can you imagine them running on those stones? And then they catch two. That's the goro, My, it's pretty. Lead shot. Sad, really. Shoot a bird like that. This is something which should be protected. Before protecting it, the forest must be protected. This type of bird, this is its habitat. If the forest is cut down and secondary forest grows, they'll be gone. We don't know anything. Guru specimens, I don't want to make a mistake here, were last collected 90 or 100 years ago. This magnificent bird, endemic to the region, is nowadays severely threatened. A guide takes it back to camp to try and look after it. As for the wild pigs, there are too many in the forests of Lengguru and will serve as dinner in the evening. Some of the scientists' work is to educate the local population so they become, in the end, the best caretakers of the biodiversity of Lengguru. The first lake finally appears. The end of it can't be seen, and the level of the water is high. It's good to see Kamaka Lake.
It's like a ladder. And there's a good place to put a recorder.
Jadi danau itu tetap naik, ya kan?
Ini sekarang ini ada naik.
Ada naik.
Iya, ada naik.
Tapi udah berapa lama? Udah beberapa puluhan tahun ada?
Itu makan tahun ini. Nanti baru ini kas turun apa ini dia bare ini kering lagi. Yang dulu kita masih kecil itu ada keringo sampai di Tanjung itu.
So he's saying that when he was little, he saw the lake and it was a lot lower. All that bay there was dry.
Kering itu nanti kayu besar-besar baru nanti ini ada naik lagi.
He says that when the level was lower, the trees could be seen outside it. Okay, we'll sit down then.
We'll sit down.
And we'll eat. How can the spectacular changes in the lake level be explained? To find out more about the natural phenomena here, the hydrologists decide to camp there for a few days.
The second canoe has a mess of wood.
To help their research, the guides offer 2 boats they usually use for fishing. I think you could make a...
I'm asking myself if we could fiddle that.
You could make a catamaran with them.
Because I'm going to attach the sounder and the GPS on the bank. Like that, it's out of reach of the waves.
Yes, like that they'll connect. There's no...
No worries.
You know what you're going to do before you make your catamaran? You know how to paddle? You're a hydrologist at the IRD.
Yes.
You must know how to paddle generally. You get trained to. You can show us how, if it works.
Do I go there now? I've got my passport, everything. Driving license. Oh!
Don't lose your glasses. Watch out for your glasses. Just remember, forward is below on the right. Hydrologists on the water.
Not that simple.
With what they have to hand, Bernard Puyo and Jean-Pierre Briquet build the makeshift raft which will let them determine the bathymetrics of the lake to map it. Their aim is to cover the lake's surface over about 45 kilometers, and thanks to topographical surveying, find out the answer to why the lake has such big level changes.
We'll have perfect conditions for measuring today, Bernard. No wind, very calm water. That should give us the measurements we need with precision. That's good there. We're getting the data, the coordinates of each point, which we're taking as x, y, as a northern latitude and longitude. And for each point, we'll also have the depth, which will let me make a map which shows the lake's profile. 44, 43. Well, it's a bit deeper than before. We've gained 2 meters, 44 meters, you see.
According to the data on the sound, the depth of the lake is almost constant, except at the foot of a cliff falling into the lake. In this precise spot, it's a lot deeper. Here, close to the steep sides, the explorers make their first discovery.
You see, you might say it's a bit like a face. Turn like that a bit more, to the left a bit. I wonder if there's something else. And that's like a cross above it, there you see. Like a fish above, look. The image above.
Up there, that's a crocodile there, and those are people. That's a man. The few archaeologists who have managed to study this kind of work in neighboring regions think that they were made around 3,000 years ago, when the island population migrated to more hostile regions to flee invading peoples from Australia. Most of these frescoes were made using a red pigment made from human blood, iron, and plant juices. Some abstract motifs are a mystery. They probably have spiritual or religious meanings. But the discovery of these wall paintings doesn't distract the scientists from their mission. Thanks to the bathymetric measurements, they can now unveil the secrets of the lake. There's the general shape of Kamika Lake, 10 kilometers long, 2 or 3 wide. The first measurements gave us 40 meters of depth and a perfectly flat lake. And then we had the surprise of finding that along the cliff edge where there were inscriptions, there was a deeper floor, up to 43 meters 40 centimeters over 20 meters of diameter. And typically, that means there's a little cave. And that could be one of the possible exits, you see, for the water from the lake. The hypothesis advanced by the researchers is that the hollow at the foot of the cliff plays the role of a natural drain. At present, the drain is blocked and the lake level is high. But in an earthquake, or more likely when the water pressure is too great after repeated rains, cracks appear and the block gives way. Water then plunges into underground networks. The lake empties quickly. After another earthquake, or when sediments have accumulated once more, the block reforms and makes the water rise again. The lake level fluctuates in a cycle. A first enigma has been partly resolved. But it's not just lakes which disappear into the underground networks. The long Lengguru River partly crosses the mountains, and it too loses itself in the depths of the earth. No one at present knows where its source is to be found. According to scientists, the subterranean part of the river is about 3 million years old, long enough for species to become adapted to this specific environment. Kararusman Lobaboza and Christophe Cochet, experts in aquatic fauna, leave to join a team of speleologists at the place where the river disappears beneath ground. Their mission is to see what living creatures people Lengguru.
You know, the speleologists have gone up to the cave. Okay, and according to them, there's a large chamber in water. We don't know what's in there.
You see, on that cave, there's no biological data.
Yes, it would be good to see what cavern space there is there, yes. There's potential for finding something there. How long? How long will it take us to get up there, really?
7 hours by canoe.
Okay, that makes 7 hours. 7.5 to 8 hours travel to get there. Okay, well, shall we go?
Let's go. The team has to go up 60 kilometers into the mountains following the river. They will explore the labyrinth of cavities where scientists think the Lengguru has its source. Rapids and waterfalls mean the voyage can't be finished in canoes. The explorers have no choice. They have to follow the river on foot up to the last village just below the caves.
Nah, kami memang akan masuk di daerah selama 10 hari saja, Pak. Setelah itu kami kembali. Kegiatan ilmiah ini adalah kerjasama antara pemerintah Indonesia dengan Eropa untuk mengidentifikasi apa yang hidup saja. Jadi kita memang masing-masing ini punya ahli, Pak. Punya spesialisasi, punya keahlian. Saya ahli ikan, nah teman saya ahli gua. Dia sudah biasa masuk di gua di seluruh dunia.
I've explained to them that our goal is to describe all of the cave's living creatures. That's important because we're going to compare them to all of the known species in the world. The villagers have understood the scientists' mission. They give them permission to enter the cave region and offer them shelter before they move on their way. We're leaving tomorrow at 7 o'clock. What are we hoping for?
What are we hoping for tomorrow? Tomorrow we're hoping to find lots of fish. Well, lots of species of animals.
In the cave?
In the cave, yes, of course.
The guides' teams relay each other. It's the turn of the new village to accompany the researchers over the last leg of the river which leads to the maze of caves.
We're here, apparently. Look. Oh, wow! Oh, no.
Oh, no. Wow.
Oh, boy.
The speleologists have been here already for 6 days to scout it out and try to find the source of the Lengguru River. They are eager to be resupplied with food. Welcome to your home.
I'm amazed. You're well set up here.
Okay.
Hello, hello. Pappy? Hello, mate. Good Lord. Happy? You got what, a succession of basins there?
You got the river right there at 50 meters, the river which is falling under the blocks. That's where you have your work.
Ah, yeah. Right, let's go. How do we go?
Is there a trail there? No, you're on the left and you stay there. You see the wall at the left, you follow it and you get there in 50 meters. You'll hear the river, then you'll see the river and you carry on and on. You follow the river. With the help of the directions, Kader Usman Lobabauza and Christophe Cochet have just one aim: to collect specimens of every species present in the subterranean water so they can evaluate the biodiversity of this as yet unexplored aquatic environment.
There's a prawn, Kadar. Come and see. With a pink tail. Try in the basin, Kadar, over there. Above, another prawn. Take it, take it. This one's different. I'll go and take a look above, Kadar, okay? Ah, we got two. There's one a little bit redder than the other. That one, we can see them well there. The one on the other side isn't the same thing, eh? We didn't find fish, we found 3 prawns. That's not that bad because they've got a strange look all the same, these 2 prawns here. And they're different kinds, we'll see.
The fishing has been poor. The flow of the river is too strong for the researchers to stay for long. This is a disappointment for them. They're going to try in the river branches outside the cave.
Go in front. I'll go and see if this train's off.
The speleologists, however, are following up their underground exploration. They have to map the cave network and find the point where the river begins.
Under the blocks. Another concretion. Aggressive, eh? It goes off there. These are concretions which have been eaten away by bat urine and phosphates. These are Tinyayitas, which have been described in Cuba. Look at the pinnacles there too. This is biogenesis. This part of the cave is dug away by the biological activity of bacteria. The acid is supplied by bats, etc., and it causes these strange shapes here.
Bats play a major role in the modeling of underground cavities. Two phenomena are at work. The first is due to bat urine. It is spread in an aerosol form of highly corrosive acids which attack the roof and walls of the caves. According to the species, the bats can nest as individuals or a colony, which has a direct effect on the nature of the aerosols. Highly concentrated, these form a juice which digs circular holes on the ground. Scientists call these holes tinajita, found and described in Cuba, or large jars in English.
Here, it's bats' urine which makes holes, and hyperacidic aerosols which perforate the rock.
The urine mixes with guano, the solid droppings of the bats. Then, a second phenomenon takes over, as the guano attracts a myriad of little organisms, crustaceans, insects, spiders, which decompose into minerals and notably phosphate. Washed by the floods of the river, the rock altered by the phosphate becomes malleable. Drops of water and the urine then can sculpt the vertical holes into such a density that they become a chain of peaks as sharp as knives.
Whew, it's hot here. Shirts off. We're caving in the open air. Look at the riverbed.
That's the Lengguru in flood.
It must spill over when it's in flood.
To find the source of the Lengguru, the team follows its old bed, now dry. Enormous blocks of stone attest to the violence of the river's floods. Oh, it's gushing.
There's a flow. You can see the river pouring into the blocks. Magnificent. Some of the flow is going underground.
Does it disappear or go into an archway? We'll go and see.
Yeah, we'll go and see, especially if that comes out somewhere. What's next?
Let's go.
Okay.
It's a headache for the speleologists. The river constantly appears and disappears in the limestone relief, hollow as a Swiss cheese.
We've found the underground Lengguru again. Okay, well, that seems to be a basin. A spillway of the Lengguru. Oh no, it goes below.
It goes under there.
Yes, that's the level of the river falls, which gets lost in these blocks here.
Take a look.
Let's take a look.
The milky colour of one of the Lengguru's branches, as well as a nasty smell of rotten eggs, announces the presence of sulphur. This arouses the curiosity of the speleologists.
Here you can clearly see the role of sulfuric gas, which corrodes the limestone and afterwards precipitates the gypsum firstly as needles, and beyond a certain level, in the form of gypsum blooms. So these crystals can have a special kind of organization, like here, along bacterial threads.
In this subterranean network, a specific ecosystem has come into place where the synthesis of light, usually necessary for the development of life, is replaced by the synthesis of chemicals. The water, with a high concentration of hydrogen sulfide, leaves strong doses of sulfur on the walls. This sulfur feeds minuscule bacteria, which gather in billions in the shape of gluey stalactites known as snotites. This microbial carpet is the first link in a food chain. Thus, many insects, attracted by this organic matter, come to stay in the cave. Phenomena of this type is rarely seen. It's been found in Mexico in a sulfurously toxic cave called Cueva de Villa Luz. The Lengguru Mountains show the scientists once more the interest and extent of their special nature. Back to the fish specialists. They're looking for a fish which they're particularly interested in, the rainbow fish. The origins of this little fish go back to the creation of the mountains. Studying its distribution could bring valuable information about the order of geological evolution of Lengguru.
Oh, hell. Go on. Okay.
It's not a permanent river.
Nope.
That's why there are no...
Yep. There are turtles.
Ah, turtles. Let's go.
Go on. Heck, they're a fish anyway, but they're little things. Tiny, tiny. Yes, yes, cast it there. So. This one has two red stripes. It's really pretty. Did you see that?
It's not exactly red, it's orange.
It's orange, exactly. Nice, isn't it?
There are two distinct bars.
Yes, yes.
The tail is a bit violet. The cap has two marks.
Blue marks, like that.
And several gold marks.
It's really great because we've never seen that before. Never, never, never. The first time it's been seen. Even in publications, books, things like that, there's no such colouring being seen. It's really interesting. We'll see what that gives us on a genetic level and then define it all.
Mission accomplished for the researchers. They've just found 3 new species of rainbow fish, which have in common that they live together in the Lengguru River. This is a first. In general, just one species colonizes a watercourse.
Semuanya.
As the discovery of rainbow fish proves, the Lengguru Mountains are a factory for producing different species. The many valleys, each cut off from the other, make up so many little lost worlds in which living creatures, isolated from their relations for hundreds of thousands of years, have evolved separately. They are different genetically, no longer being able to reproduce with the mother population group, and have ended up as completely different new species. Lengguru is thus the amazing site of the birth of many species. Intrigued by the discoveries made by their colleagues, the entomologists take a turn in the caves of Lengguru. The site could be favorable for the presence of invertebrates with extreme adaptations.
Here we're in a zone where there's absolutely no data on underground fauna. There are little data from Bird's Head, as there was an expedition, and then we have some data for Papua and Central New Guinea. But here we have no idea of what we'll find. And we'll be meeting 2 fauna, so it'll be very interesting to see what we discover.
Okay. Let's go. Chayo. Let's go to the cave.
Arno Fai, expert in underground fauna, is accompanied by Chayo Ramadi, specialist in spiders at the Indonesian Science Institute. Together, they advance into the entrails of the mountain. The darkness is total, and few nutrients reach this isolated environment. The species that live here face conditions of extreme rigor.
The specificity of underground groups is that they very often live in a somewhat insular system. The populations are isolated, fragmented, and therefore each population is likely to be microendemic species, meaning animals that live in very restricted areas. Here's a spider that preys on large grasshoppers. It's a spider of the genus Heteropoda, quite characteristic of this area. This is a young one, but it can reach the size of a hand. Let's see a bit further. This is a Rhaphidophoridae, a large grasshopper. I think that this is an adult. Again, very, very long antennae. And the eyes are reduced because it's troglophile, meaning it spends most of its time in the cave. So they begin to develop adaptations that are those of real cave dwellers, like the loss of eyes, loss of pigments. The loss of eyes is accompanied by an elongation of the appendages, often a lengthening of the antennas. So this is true for insects.
Arnold!
Huh?
You see?
What is this?
It's a whip spiders. The genus is Sarax.
Sarax.
This is...
This is known from here?
I have no idea from this area.
Oh,
but
so.
I only know from Waigeo Islands in Raja Ampat and in Papua New Guinea. But in Papua New Guinea, it's completely brownish. So
maybe new species, no?
I'm sure.
Nice.
Nice. I will keep it. I have to be careful.
Yeah, don't lose it, huh?
Yeah.
The catch is good. These amblypogids, or whip spiders, are archaic animals of the spider class. The spiders and the scorpions seem to spring straight from prehistory and inspired some of the terrifying sequences in the films of Harry Potter. Fossil records show that the amblypogids were here 359 million years ago. They haven't changed much since then. Back in Jakarta, Chayo Ramadi can study the creature found in the Lengguru cave in the right conditions.
The species from Lengguru has 2 spines on the pedipalp claw. The body is larger, and also the antenna is longer, and the color of the body is much more dark compared to the 2 species from Manokwari and Waigeo. I confirm that the species from Lengguru is a new species, and it will contribute on the biodiversity as a whole in the Indonesia or in the Papua region.
Arno Fai has also found a creature worthy of attention in the caves of Lengguru. With the authorization of Indonesian scientists, he takes it back to the Natural History Museum of Munich for DNA analysis.
Here's the most remarkable species we found in terms of terrestrial invertebrates. It's a creature which was found in the deepest zones of the Jabuengara cave. It's a cockroach, a cave dweller, completely lacking in pigment, with very long legs, no eyes, just very long antennae. So this cockroach has adapted in an extreme way to underground life. This is remarkable to find this species. It's new. The only place in France which studies underground life is the Mouly laboratory, where there are breeding stations, especially for cave dwellers, which are placed in a real cave.
It's hard to observe cave-dwelling species in their natural environment. That's why the Mouly's laboratory decided to reproduce the climatic and environmental conditions needed to study them over a long period. The aim is to understand their evolutionary processes, for example, why they have lost their pigment or become blind. Arnaud Faye joins Olivier Guillaume, research engineer at the CNRS. His studies should offer additional information. They are about a curious amphibian found in the caves of Central Europe. It's a proteus. So here, these proteus are 19 years old. So they're only just adult. They become adult between 15 and 20 years old.
How long do they live then?
Well, we think between 80 and 100 years, but in fact the oldest ones we've raised reached 55 years.
Ah, they saw us arrive.
Yes, we'll try and push them by hand. They're a bit anxious. There we are. So now we've caught them, we'll take them to the experiment.
From living underground in these conditions, has it developed a particular strategy? Is its life cycle different? Is its metabolism different?
For the proteus, what happens is that it economizes as much as possible by not moving. Most of the time it's inactive against its rock, and activity can be measured in individuals of only 5 minutes a day. So during the rest of the day, it's saving itself up.
Okay.
It can survive without feeding for several months, even several years. Reproduction's very rare, more or less one reproduction every 12 years for females. And so a longevity which is very marked.
It still has marks of eyes, though.
Yes. In fact, it develops functional eyes at hatching. So the ocular regression happens after hatching, but is very, very slow. So there are still traces at adulthood.
The eye disappears.
Then, after all, it's not at all functional. It's completely disconnected from the brain. In this species, we see that there is a growth in sensitivity, especially olfactive and mechanical. There's sensorial compensation for the loss of vision. In fact, it's a very good hunter in spite of all. It detects prey quite quickly and can direct itself without any problem, thanks to its other senses, despite the darkness.
So the fact we found modified organisms, cave-dwelling organisms, in such an unexplored and unknown area of the world as Papua New Guinea, this allows us to add to the structure of understanding we have of the underground world.
So effectively, in a general way, we can see evolutionary convergence of all cave-dwelling life forms. But really, we have very, very few species. So the more we discover, the better for us. We can validate our hypotheses and theories. The Lengguru Mountains have confirmed they are of major scientific interest. It really is the Eden of biodiversity that the researchers foresaw. They've gone into unexplored regions, observed unusual natural phenomena, and discovered mutating fauna, as well as several new species with extreme adaptations. Thanks to their research, new hypotheses have been made to complete our understanding of the evolution of the living world. The scientists are more than ever determined to continue their investigations and protect these mountains unique in our world. The waters of this part of the world are separated from the vast networks of oceans and rivers in which species can freely circulate. How did aquatic flora and fauna develop here? The expedition encountered several unusual creatures: a blind fish made translucent by its life in darkness, an unexpected freshwater tortoise in a drowned cave, and pink-tipped dolphins as yet unlisted. Samples taken have been sent to leading research laboratories. They will enrich our knowledge of one of the parts of the world which is, in many ways, a conservatory of life as it was millions of years ago. All of the sea and inland water samples taken from Lengguru are conserved at the Jakarta Research Center for Oceanography. Regis Hocte, Laurent Pouillot, and Didier Aurel, in charge of the expedition's marine research, meet the Indonesian colleagues who they worked with in the field.
Oh, hey, there you are.
Selamat pagi, Indra.
Selamat pagi. Hey, nice to see you.
Hey, Regis, welcome to Jakarta.
Thank you very much.
It's nice to see you again.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure.
Before we are working in the open air, in the sea, and now we are in the lab.
The main objective of their work together is to sequence the DNA of the samples they have collected and analyze it.
Yes, put alcohol.
Oh, it's in good condition. Good.
Yes, I think we can start with these samples, the DNA extraction.
Sounds good.
Yes.
We left these samples at Kaimana when we left Papua New Guinea. Now we've got them back at Jakarta, and I'm very pleased there are no nasty surprises. The first step is to analyze them.
Each specialist working on the different groups studied will lead an inquiry using the tools available to write the history of the Lengguru Mountains, so as to understand what were the evolutionary processes that led to its exceptional biodiversity.
À l'origine de sa biodiversité exceptionnelle.
The rough sides of the Lengguru Mountains are highly promising for the researchers. They are composed of limestone formations known as karsts. Millions of years of erosion have sculpted a strange landscape, maze-like and deeply fractured, on the surface as well as below the sea, creating a mosaic of ecosystems in which living species have had to evolve or vanish. In the area, the scarce scientific data there is was collected in the 19th century. At that time, techniques were a long way behind those used nowadays, so much so that almost everything remains to be discovered. The aim of the mission is to draw up an inventory of the organisms that inhabit the submerged karsts, from the surface down to a depth of 100 meters.
For several years, to explore, we've been using recyclers, which are used mainly to recycle the gas we breathe out. This means a special treatment separately of the gas which has been exhaled. That takes place in this unit. Here, the carbon dioxide produced by an organism is fixed, and at the same time, the air is enriched in oxygen, replacing the oxygen consumed by the organism. Using this recycler equipped with 2 bottles of 3 liters each, we can dive for 3 hours. If we had to use traditional diving helmets, the logistics would be impossible for this boat.
Let's get in the water quick, because I think if we weighed ourselves, we're close to 200 kilograms. A fantastic and surprising universe appears to the divers. Luminous squid pass by like gracious ghosts. A jellyfish with an extravagant shape wanders through the dark water. The researchers deliberately limit their samples to the specimens which pose the most questions. They're happy to film or photograph the others. Closer to the surface, plankton, astonishingly abundant, nourishes unusually rich life. All kinds of shapes and the brightest of colors explode in a perfectly preserved Garden of Eden. It's a real blessing for science. A placid carpet shark, under threat elsewhere in the world, has found here one of the few refuges which remain. This delicate sea pen feeds on the microplankton that sails where the currents lead. A gigantic sea anemone gives sanctuary to a colony of tiny translucent prawns. As for the nudibranche, commonly called sea slugs, they're here in large numbers. These hermaphrodite mollusks parade in extravagant costumes with unusual shapes and colors. Although they look like tropical flowers, these crinoids are nonetheless animals with a skeleton, close cousins of sea urchins and starfish. The divers are struck by their number and extraordinary diversity. Appearing 500 million years ago, crinoids have survived all the crises of biodiversity which have happened on the planet. Paleontologists consider them to be a reference group of capital importance for our knowledge of the living world.
I don't know what is it. I've never seen this before.
The specimens collected will be carefully prepared to arrive in good condition for the specialists who will study them, including this astonishing starfish.
I never saw it in Western Indonesia. So in Eastern Indonesia, only here in Lengguru before. So many dives, and this one my first.
In the Oceanography Research Center of Jakarta, a production line is put in place to extract the DNA of the samples taken from the waters of Lengguru. It's difficult to distinguish between species with very close morphologies with the naked eye. Only molecular analysis can determine whether apparently similar individuals are from the same species or not.
At Lengguru, thanks to the use of genetic analysis, we expect to discover a large number of species. In fact, the ultimate goal of this approach, for us, is to offer scientific proof to political decision-makers so they can register this exceptional region as a World Heritage Site.
The crinoids, so many and so colourful in the submarine depths of Lengguru, captivate the researchers.
Ndra, iden apa Ndra?
Crinoid ini Bu, yang biasa kita ambil waktu nyelam, banyak sekali waktu di karang-karang. Menarik sekali.
Susah nggak ini iden yang?
Oh ya, idennya susah.
Wow.
Nah, jadi kita lihat ada lengannya, kita mulai lihat dari pinulesnya sampai pada bentuk kaki-kakinya yang mencengkeram itu kita lihat bentuknya ya udah duri-duri atau enggak, bundarnya berapa.
The scientists have sent specimens to their colleagues at the Marine Biology Station of the Natural History Museum of Konkanu. They are given to Nadia Amezian, one of the rare specialists in the world of these animals which we still know little of.
There are lots of questions. How do they live at these depths? How do they reproduce? How are they able to last through geological ages? So it's all these questions which attracted me to these animals, and the mystery which surrounds them, since it's a group which at present is very poorly known by scientists and even less well known by the public.
First, Nadia Amezian consults the available literature and compares the specimens she has to all the crinoids already catalogued around the world. Then, she examines their skeletons in detail.
Oh yes, I like this view. That's a typical echinoderm network. No other organism in the animal kingdom has a skeleton of this kind.
We'll look at that in more detail.
This ossicle here is in full growth. So what's interesting is that even when they're adult, the skeleton continues to grow. Of course, it's a lot slower.
Crinoids have developed the peculiarity of growing all through their lives and can live up to 60 years. But what fascinates scientists is their ability, exceptional in the animal kingdom, to regenerate all of their organs, including nerves and viscera.
So what do you see there? Is that regeneration or not?
Yes, it's clearly regeneration. You can see its arms very well, with a smaller diameter, a lot shorter, with a slightly paler color.
It's been under stress and lost its arms. Now it's growing them again. Why does regeneration interest researchers so much? When we can understand all the processes and mechanisms of this regeneration, we may have a way of curing cancer.
The crinoid regeneration process requires very rapid production of stem cells, and it is this proliferation which interests cancer researchers. For grafts for patients undergoing chemotherapy, this mechanism favors the multiplication of repairing cells as opposed to cancerous cells. The crinoids collected at Lengguru thus contribute to better knowledge of the biodiversity of this group. They also allow improved exploration of their therapeutic potential. On the ship which sails the waters of Lengguru, researchers have been alerted by an interesting piece of information.
Well, now no one's ready. This patrol's going to take time. We know that there's a sedentary whale shark because it's fed every day by fishermen. And we're going to try to take DNA samples to be able to position it relative to the rest of the population. It'll be feeding on fish, so it'll be fairly static so we can approach to collect fragments.
Whale sharks are known to be perpetual wanderers. Usually they follow banks of plankton and microscopic animal or vegetable prey which drift with the currents. This giant, followed by pilot fish, belongs to the small family of filterers. Its large mouth swallows enormous quantities of water which are expelled through its imposing gills while the prey is swallowed. The specimen which the team has discovered has, however, developed strange behavior which has never been documented before. It literally sucks the net. It crushes the fish between its jaws and sucks the mash which this causes. According to the fishermen, one or several whale sharks visit their nets each time they come back from fishing. The scientists take into account all the information from the inhabitants. If these whale sharks are sedentary, they may well be an uncatalogued species. To be certain, systematic DNA samples must be taken.
So here we've just received the DNA sequencing results from the whale shark samples. For example, there we have an absolutely identical sequence to a specimen captured in the Indian Ocean off Mozambique, and a second sequence which is identical to a specimen caught elsewhere in the Pacific. So what does that mean? In fact, it confirms that the whale shark is one of the rare species in the world that has a cosmopolitan population. That means that all the whale sharks in all the world's oceans make up one population. This is caused by the fact that indeed whale sharks during their lives can go around the planet several times, migrating, moving from ocean to ocean, and they've done that for millions of years.
Although the Lengguru whale shark belongs to a common species already catalogued, a certain number of things remain to be resolved. At the Paris Aquarium, Régis Tournadre consults shark specialist Bernard Serre from the Research Institute for Development.
So, Bernard, here are the images of samples taken from a group of whale sharks, and the question is, could this group have become isolated? Could there be sedentary individuals in this region of Lengguru?
We know that whale sharks are very mobile. Large females, for example, can travel distances of over 3,000 kilometers, and we know that they return to their starting point. Now, how do we know about these movements? Whale sharks have marks on their bodies, which are a kind of identity card for each shark. We take photos of the flanks and enter them into a database. Currently, there are 7,000 sharks in that database. The second method is, of course, electronic beacons. These little devices full of electronics are placed on the sharks and tell us about their movements. These methods have shown that whale sharks are very mobile and that over cycles of many years, while the young stay in coastal zones. And what we have here are youth centers, where there are essentially only young sharks, you see. Why? Because in these zones, these bays, like in the Bay of Lengguru, it's very rich in plankton, and the young sharks find the abundant food necessary for their growth there. So, in my opinion, they're not sedentary. It's simply a stage in the long whale shark cycle. Whale sharks are poorly known because of the diversity of their habitats and their long journeys. Lengguru shines new light on migration routes, on the existence of nurseries for the young, and feeding methods that have never been listed before. Lake Sewickley is a vast expanse of brackish water which communicates with the sea by a deep, narrow natural channel. According to current wisdom, the coast of Papua New Guinea is inhabited by a single species of crocodile, the Porosus, which is still called a sea crocodile. It also lives on Australian coasts. The rough terrain of Lengguru leads to many exchanges of sea and fresh water. The team suspects that land crocodiles live alongside sea crocodiles. This would be a first. Capturing young specimens would allow the theory to be confirmed.
Right, I'm not squeezing it.
It's his cry of...
It's got webbed feet, all right. Another characteristic, you see? You see the transparent eyelid?
Oh, yes.
It's like a diving mask. It lets them see underwater. You see?
Oh, yes.
It's well done.
What's the adult's maximum size?
Between 3 meters and 3 meters 50. Here we can... You see? He opens the trap and closes it. He opens the trap and closes it. So it can bite underwater without swallowing water.
Yes.
You like my little leaf, huh? Look. The crocodile is an indicator of the health of a region. When man enters a region, it's the first animal to suffer. It's very sensitive to modifications of the ecosystem. So either they leave, move off, or they're driven out. Now we're going to put you in a sack, and then tomorrow morning we'll take a little scale from you, and then we'll let you go again, where we got you. Looks nice like that.
Well, that's cute.
What you have to understand is that in Southeast Asia, crocodile populations are declining everywhere. There are a lot of places where they've just disappeared. However, in the lake of Sewickley at Lengguru, we can see that there are still a great number of crocodiles. During night observations that we've made during our mission, we've found over 50 individuals per square kilometre, which is enormous. It's a very, very high density. Sea crocodiles are present in Lake Sewickley, Crocodilus porosus, which is characterized by the absence of large scales on its occipital bone just behind the skull, as well as a second species, Crocodilus novaguinei, which is more of a land crocodile and which does have these large scales on its occipital bone. That's a first as far as I know, but there's no other place in Southeast Asia, even in Australia, where you can find two different crocodile species living alongside each other.
This discovery opens up new perspectives, and new observations will be needed to understand the ecological and behavioral factors which lead to such an unusual coexistence of land and sea crocodiles. A new mission is begun. Its aim is to explore an isolated high-altitude lake which has evolved separately. There's a strong possibility that this has led to the survival and development of unknown species. Laurent Pouillot hopes to discover new specimens of rainbow fish. It's a quite ordinary-looking fish which is only 6 to 8 centimeters long. But following the cataclysms which have marked the history of this region, the species has dispersed into communities which have all evolved differently. Constructing the genealogical tree of the rainbow fish could reveal the crucial steps in the genesis of the Lengguru Mountains to the researchers. the team of scientists begins a long and difficult ascent.
We have to reach the first lake today, or it's not good.
The conditions are difficult. It's 35 degrees Celsius and the humidity is around 90 degrees. In places, the slope becomes a wall.
How can you walk with such a thing? Look, there's even a leech. Hello.
In these latitudes, the night falls very quickly, and in the darkness it's impossible to continue. The team has to force the pace to be on time.
We've gone 1 kilometre since the pass. At this rate, we won't get there before nightfall. So we'll lighten the load of the slowest hikers. That way we can progress at 2 to 3 kilometres an hour. Then we'll be good. We'll leave some of the load here, come what may, okay? Okay, we're off.
Lightening some of the load has paid off. At the close of day, the team finally arrive at the lake. There it is before them. Crocodiles are moving in the shallow waters. The team prefers to make a temporary camp quite far from the shore.
A little wash after all that does you good. Come and help yourself.
The camp wakes up on the banks of the lake.
Look, we see a fish struggling there. I'm going to take my shirt off. Don't pull too hard. I'll go release it. If you see a crocodile, let me know. They saw some earlier. So? A new one. It's a female. The thing about these rainbow fish, they don't look much when they're stressed, as they are now, but as soon as you put them in the water, the colours appear when they're sedated.
The small size, a head in proportion to its body, the blue band and the orange stripes all lead to the thought that the captured fish belongs to an ancient line that hasn't yet been described. DNA analysis in the laboratory confirms that it is indeed a primitive species at the origins of all rainbow fish. This discovery offers to the researchers a fundamentally important subject to study.
Thanks a lot for all the help you've brought us. Bravo.
The Lengguru Mountains, split by countless crevices, offer many meeting places for fresh water and seawater. This is what happens in the subterranean aquatic network of the Diaboniara, an immense labyrinth of caves and passages, partially flooded and until now unexplored.
Perfect. Yes, I think you can get ready here and get into the water here.
That's what we'll do.
Otherwise, the bats, there's a lot of guano which will drop into the boat.
We'll get ready in the boat and get into the water there.
Hi.
Scientific exploration proceeds in stages. First, the divers map the submerged part of the network. Secondly, they list the organisms present. But the task is complicated as the sediment which has built up on the floor is light and unstable. The slightest movement raises clouds which obscure visibility. Few creatures can live in such a dark mineral desert. Suddenly, the divers are surprised to find themselves face to face with a magnificent estuary turtle. As a rule, this isn't a favorable environment for a turtle. How did it get here? Is it here by chance? Have others of its kind colonized the place? This encounter raises many questions and is one of the enigmas which excite the research teams.
Huh? That's nice, eh?
Yes, it is. While the divers ask themselves about the unexpected turtle, speleologists explore the dry part of the cave. Here, the heat is suffocating. In the beams of lamps, stone concretions which have developed over thousands of years take on the appearance of a petrified jungle. Darkness is total, and few nutriments make it down to this isolated environment. The species which live here have had to acclimatize to extremely strong constraints. In these unusual surroundings, the research team make an unexpected discovery. Bones bear witness that a large crocodile has managed to wander down here. When moving the skull, Laurent Pouillot fleetingly glimpses a strange shape.
Wow, it's a blind fish. Ho ho! Well, that's nuts. We've never found that before. I saw it go past but couldn't do anything about it. I just saw it. I'm not leaving till I've got that fish. What's magic is that that fish was just below the jaw when the jaw was lifted. If that's so, there could be several which must have eaten it. All these little fish would have benefited from this bounty to feed themselves while it decomposed. Now that's magic. Just magic.
It's often difficult to judge the importance of a discovery straight away, but this time the expedition members have no doubt. These little colourless fish, which have completely lost their eyes, will be a choice subject for scientists lucky enough to study them. With the agreement of the Indonesian authorities, the specimen is sent to Philippe Keith, Director of the Department of Aquatic Environment and Population at the Natural History Museum of Paris. So the specimen should be there. There they are.
They're very small.
They're the ones you brought back.
Oh yes, heck, I didn't remember.
There. Since they're cave dwellers, they've developed specialized systems sensitive. So we'll look at that in the laboratory.
Let's go.
You see, what's quite incredible is that they've already lost their eyes.
So that's it there. The emplacement was about there, yes?
That's it. Those are the two places which would have been eyes.
Okay.
Well, they're not there. And you see on the snout they've developed quite incredible sensory buds.
That's all those diverticula you can see all over here and there?
Yes, all the diverticula which go from the part beneath the eye to the extremity of the snout and which allow it to perceive all the variations of the environment.
You can see clearly.
In particular, variations in the currents, pressure, probably temperature too. It can detect its prey quite easily thanks to these sensory organs, since obviously it can't see them because the place is completely dark. And you see, what's interesting about these fish is to be able to study what are called otoliths, which are these little bones which are in the internal ear of the fish. We've got here the birth of the individual.
Okay.
This represents what we call the nucleus. And then you can see these rays here which go right to the end of the otolith, and each ray represents one day. That's to say...
One day?
Yes, that's to say that we can measure between the birth of the individual and the end of the otolith. We call this the otolith black box, in fact. It's like the black box of a plane which records all the physical and chemical characteristics of the environments which the fish has crossed.
You can, for example, sample a particular ray.
That's it. On one ray, for example this one, if we want to know if there really was a migration towards a salt environment or not, or if they were isolated in the cave, we'd look for elements which characterize a marine environment. So with a laser which follows a row and analyzes all the elements we're looking for, from birth to the end of the otolith. Like that, we know if the fish left the cave at any point. We have, thanks to this discovery, really a biological model that's really interesting because we can see how an animal, this fish here, adapts to an extreme environment, which are there in completely dark places with very, very few nutritional elements. The Diaboniara black box remains to be exploited. There's no doubt that its decoding will reveal the surprising turns of event that have marked the development of this little being, new knowledge of the living world. What about the other surprise from the cave? The turtle that no one expected in one of the submerged galleries. So that's the turtle we met when we were exploring the drowned karst at Uriza. What's really surprising is that we didn't expect to find it so deep in the underground network.
How deep in the network is it?
Well, not very deep, a few meters in depth. However, in terms of penetration within the network, we're already quite deep. A few dozen meters, really in the cave network in complete darkness. So this individual is 30 or so centimeters large.
How can the presence of a turtle like that be explained here?
It's really astonishing, quite unusual. You could think that it came in search of food. It's true that there are a lot of bats in the submerged parts. Surely adults and young bats fall into the water. This could be a food source and an explanation for its presence. I've tried to identify its species. There's a certain number of morphometric criteria, such as the distance between the nose and the neck compared to the length of its carapace, the number of toes and the number of claws on the forward feet, as well as on the back feet, and of course the ornamentation on the shell, on the stomach, as well as the back, which are really characteristic and specific to each species. And in fact, when you look at all of these criteria, clearly our specimen belongs to the Elysia novaeguinae species, and looking at its population distribution area, that corresponds closely.
So that's right at the spot where you observed it?
Exactly, so it's entirely coherent. Elysia novaeguinae has been listed since 1874, but had never before been observed in a cavern habitat. A neighboring species, Elysia rodini, was discovered in 2016 south of the island, and other species perhaps remain to be discovered. At Lengguru, the fish-filled waters are a paradise for dolphins, which gather there in large numbers to hunt. In this crowd, which sweeps the brackish waters of the estuaries relentlessly, scientists have noticed individuals with characteristics they have never seen elsewhere. Sophie Caroy, marine mammal specialist, is looking for these mysterious specimens. In an estuary washed by the flow of the tides, she photographs and films a group of dolphins which seems to correspond to the description. Diving to observe them is impossible, since the water is troubled by alluvium channeled by the river and the currents are strong, so each image is precious and rare.
This one is different in many ways, notably the distribution of colouring, the shape of the dorsal, the rostrum. The snout seems longer. And all that is what we're trying to document. So yes, it's exciting.
Yes, it's the first time that I've seen them up close.
Do you think they're the ones you saw?
I'm sure they're the same. They have exactly the same characteristics. You see, depigmentation on the caudal and dorsal fins.
Can you see the general shape? For me, these are Sousa dolphins, so-called humpback dolphins, even if these have no hump. But look at the colours they have. They turn pink when they're adults. And here, it's not at all the case. We have localised depigmentation, and at the head, you see what's called the melon, this bump. Well, I have the impression that it's more prominent.
It's more marked, I agree with you. And so for you, it would be a population with a bit more Sousa variability.
Well, are they differentiated genetically? We'd need samples.
Only a comparative DNA analysis will allow them to know if this species is different from the others. Laurent Pouillot and Amos, a guide who knows the estuary well, will attempt to take a tissue sample from one of the curious dolphins.
Neutral.
The aim is to obtain a tiny piece of flesh. It's a non-invasive form of sampling which doesn't hurt the animal. It's a small sting.
The maximum distance normally to use such a tool is 10 to 15 meters. And this morning, the closest we could get is roughly 50 meters. So that's why this is really going to be difficult. But we'll have to get it. I saw one in front there.
Pelan-pelan, dekat-dekat saja. Pelan-pelan. Yeah. Pelan-pelan, Amos. Pelan-pelan. Dapat itu, dapat. Pelan-pelan, pelan-pelan. Ada daging itu. Ada. Bentar. Tuh dagingnya. Tuh. Sekarang akan tahu jenisnya, Amos. Ayo pulang kita. Aduh, saya senang sekali. Panas sekali. Ayo kita pulanglah. Kembali. Saya nyupir lah. Makasih, lumba-lumba.
More often than might be thought, luck plays a role in the success of a mission because the researchers have to contend with many indeterminable things like the unpredictable weather or the terrain, which they have no control over. Today, fortunately, success is on science's side. In Indonesia and then in France, samples taken from the dolphins with pink tips have been analyzed. Its DNA has been sequenced. It is compared to the DNA of all the dolphins listed and made available for research in world databases. All of the published data, including the most recent, has been searched.
Bonjour. Hi, Sophie.
Hi, Laurent.
So, the dolphin results?
You'll be disappointed.
Disappointed?
Because it's a known species.
Where is it known?
Australia. As well, this came out during our mission.
While we were on our mission?
Yes.
That's crazy. How come they're still finding new species of dolphins in Australia nowadays?
Well, listen, even nowadays, you know, although dolphins are big, they live under the water, so they're not easy to observe. To be able to say that it's a different species, there have to be a certain number of indicators which can resemble another species.
And the morphology?
For morphology, according to them, there's only a few individuals there which have depigmentation.
Ah, so you think that the population of Lengguru could be different from that in Australia?
Yes, because they're animals that don't much like deep water, so it's not likely that the individuals at Lengguru cross the sea all the way to Australia.
But for a few weeks, Laurent Poyot and his team could have had the privilege to describe a new dolphin species. The discovery of the Lengguru dolphins is nonetheless a first, which poses many questions.
It's not easy to explain how dolphins from the same species could live at least 1,000 kilometers apart. That's the Lengguru population. And here we have different populations of the new species of dolphin in northern Australia. So there is a plausible hypothesis. There I'm representing the land part of New Guinea and the Australian part. You can see they're separated by what's known as the Torres Strait. You have to understand that during the different ice ages, the sea level fell. And we know, for example, that the level fell 20,000 years ago by at least 40 meters. So we can see that when the sea was 40 meters lower, there was a land connection between New Guinea and Australia, and the maximum was minus 120 meters. And probably at that time, there were exchanges between the populations of the time from New Guinea and from Australia.
The observations made at Lengguru bear on just a few individuals. However, thanks to images captured in one place and another, here is a graphic reconstitution of an Australian individual and one from Lengguru. Their pigmentation is different, and even though they belong to the same species, the two populations have probably evolved differently through the ages. It would be interesting to compare the feeding habits and respective languages of each group. Over time, they may have developed distinctly different behavior. Scientific study of the pink-tipped dolphin has only just begun. The results of the Lengguru expedition are still preliminary. Exhaustive study of the samples and specimens taken in the field will require many more years of research and analysis. By choosing to explore this region, the researchers have hit the mark. Its territory really is the conservatory of life which the team hoped to discover. Enthusiastic about their discoveries, the scientists will work for the listing of Lengguru as a World Heritage Site. In this way, the site can be turned into a sanctuary where, over time, we can learn much about the history of our planet.